Some players are being completely overlooked in a week that's been dominated by the cartel bigging up the exact same players. Fear not, folks. Differentials are back, and the most important differentials probably of the season, trying to distinguish yourself from the crowd, working out which players you want to take on. And look, if you want my honest opinion, take on the likes of Andersen, take on the likes of Ndiaye. I'll explain why I don't like them in tomorrow's video more than today's. But today, I'm going to show you a bunch of players that are going to outperform them, and they're going to outperform them quite comfortably and boost you above those other big FPL content creators formerly known as the FPL Cartel. If you enjoy this content and you enjoy the channel, please smash a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and leave me a comment with whether you like any of my 1 week punts I've come up with this week or the differentials I'm going to share with you in this video. And with that being said, ladies and gents, let's go. So the differential notes for game week 6 with literally the entire cartel. And look, I've double checking. I've actually sat there and I've watched about 30 seconds of every one of their videos, gone straight to the final draft and seen the exact same players. Ndiaye. Why? Andersen. Why? Like, there's so many in there. They've got the Alderette of Sunderland or whatever, instead of like looking the bloke Murilli or whatever. I don't feature him in today's video, but either or. The forward line is exactly the same. João Pedro, Gyökeres, Haaland. Now, I understand the Haaland pick. I don't quite understand the João Pedro and Gyökeres complete blind faith and a template front three forward line. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm going to talk through a few different options that are under 10% owned, and I just don't know why people aren't sitting there looking at it. So look, I'm going to try and explain it, and hopefully it makes a lot of sense. But differentials never been more important. If you copy everyone else, guess what? If you're behind them, you aren't going anywhere. You'll never overtake them. So there's no way that you can sit there back in the draft that's being shared literally on every single other person's videos, except mine, if you want a decent wildcard draft that's different, not completely risky, go and check out my video from yesterday. Now, teams of good fixture runs at the moment that you need to be aware of are Leeds, Spurs, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Sunderland and Man City. Now, next week, after this week's game between Arsenal and Newcastle, you can add those two teams to that list as well. Man United actually don't look too bad either, and we'll have a look at what the fixture difficulty rating is telling us for the next few weeks as well. Then we've got the fixtures that you should be targeting this week. Now, I think that this is a good week to target the Everton-West Ham fixture. Now, I don't know whether you want a defender from that fixture, because I think there's going to be goals for both. Everton's underlying defensive data hasn't been the best, but they should be really good for DC points, particularly against a West Ham team that do give the ball away quite a lot. Brentford versus Man United, and no one's talking about that, maybe because it's Man United, maybe because it's Brentford, and maybe because it's the early kickoff, but I've just got a sneaky suspicion the weekend's going to kick off with a bunch of goals in that game. Spurs versus Wolves, another fixture you could definitely be targeting this week. Wolves obviously played and finally got their first win of the season in the Carabao Cup last night against Everton. So good on them. They're finally off the board and doing something. And then the other game you really want to attack this week is Man City versus Burnley. Now, Haaland at the moment is yellow flagged with that sore back. Just throwing out there. He'll be perfectly fine, but I wouldn't be surprised if the game's wrapped up that you see a very early Haaland sub. So for that reason, maybe don't play a triple captain on him. There might be better weeks where he's fully 100% fit. Now, as I said before, the cartel promoting Andersen, who has an unbelievably bad run of fixtures that we're going to have a look at in a second. Plus, they're also promoting Stack because he had a really good week. He had one really good week. His underlying data is actually no good. He isn't actually good enough to feature in this video, which is why I'm so shocked when I keep seeing Stack in people's teams. If you want a 5 million midfielder, why aren't you looking at Papa Sarr or someone like this from Spurs that's got arguably a way better run of fixtures and is probably a better player as well. So look, just keep that in mind. There's some players that are getting promoted. Don't fall into the traps. They are traps. You will not get the points. I'm telling you straight off the bat. So the fixture difficulty rating, as you can see there, I've got Fulham last on the fixture ticker. Last. There are only good fixtures in game week 10 against Wolves at home. They've got Villa away, and some people say Villa away is no good. I think they'll be fine. Bournemouth away. That's definitely not a nice fixture. Arsenal at home, Newcastle away. Why would you go for Andersen if you're on a wild card with those fixtures in front of you? Make it make sense. I've got no idea what they're looking at. The dude will not keep a clean sheet in 5 of those 6 games. I can put money on it. Actually, I'll go and put a bet on it tonight just to back it up because I'm convinced that Fulham concede at least 1 goal in 5 of those 6 fixtures and probably in 4 of them they concede over 2. So you tell me what's the allure of him. He's got no attacking potential at all. That's my rant about Andersen over. Sorry, Andersen. Yes, I've definitely got an obsession against him. Liverpool and Palace, as you can see there, not ideal fixtures for them either. Burnley, they're a real mixed bag. They've got 3 horrible fixtures, 3 really good fixtures. I don't really know what to make of them, but I've whacked them in there because it's all over the shop. Villa, obviously, after the game week 7, abort. You might want to abort now. I wouldn't blame you at all. Brentford, again, their run is not favourable at all. And by the time they hit West Ham in game week 8, they might have a newer manager, which will make that game significantly harder. Brighton are about to go absolutely up the fixture ticker there. Chelsea's looking pretty good with Forest, West Ham, Man United, even Everton. They've all got fairly decent fixtures. You can also see why West Ham are thinking about making the change during the international break because Brentford at home starts a really nice run in game week 8 post the international break. So maybe they're just going to let Potter lose the battle against Voldemort in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. Then, as you can see, Arsenal moving up, Newcastle moving up the fixture ticker rating. So, yeah, nice fixtures there. Those are the teams you probably want to target. And let's be honest, a lot of the players I've picked out this week are coming into a good run of fixtures. So on to the goalkeepers, and look, there is only one change from last week's goalkeepers. Vicario is now over 10% ownership, so he completely goes out. I think Pope just comes in. I actually think that Pope is the best goalkeeper. Now, I didn't really look at this until FPL Nightmare. Shout out to him. He's also on the Content Creator Awards. And if you want some original content, go and vote for him. He's an amazing content creator. Yeah, that's who gets my vote. Now, Pope. I'm not sure what I think about him in terms of this week, but post this week, Newcastle's, you can see, expected goals conceded 0.53 per 90 is, I think actually, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's the best in the entire league. So there's nothing I can say bad about him. He's played 5 games for 4 clean sheets. He's got over 30 points. To put it into context, I've got Sells as my goalkeeper still at the moment. Well, until I already made the transfer. And he made me 10. So by not having Pope and having Sells, I've lost out on 20 points on other people that started with a better goalkeeper. Even Petrovic. So originally the start of the season was going with Petrovic and Keller as the rotating 4.5s. And arguably, that would have gone a lot better as well. Petrovic is on 22 points for the season, 3 clean sheets from 5 starts. Again, his expected goals conceded, stupidly low, 0.72. There's a bit of a theme here, you can see it. Even Andersen, who comes in at number 4, 0.94 expected goals conceded per 90. I mean, like, I've missed out on clean sheets. Even Donnarumma, who's played 2 games, has got more points already than old mate Sells in goal. So, frustrating. Really frustrating. But all these keepers, all under 10% ownership, I'm surprised that some of them are not being bought by more managers. Like, everyone's on World Cup. Why are you not going for Pope? Why did I bring in Raya instead of Pope? I can tell you when I do wildcard, I'll probably be bringing in Pope as my goalkeeper. I can give you the hot tip. I'm not probably going to wildcard till about game week 12. That's the plan. But even then, Newcastle have amazing fixtures and Pope's probably going to be the goalkeeper. Save some money and hope that Raya goes up in price a couple of times before it gets there, and then I'll make a little bit of money out of it. But yeah, those are the goalkeepers for game week 6. So on to the defenders, and oh my, no one's been talking about you, doggy, at all. Everyone's been talking about Van de Ven, talking about Romero, talking about the DC Beasts. And look, you can argue that maybe I've got it wrong, but I'm telling you, I think there's some love in these next 2 fixtures for you, doggy, which is why I bought him in for Collins, because I wanted to play him this week, and I can guarantee, well, I'm pretty confident there is a very strong chance of a clean sheet versus Wolves. Ironically, I've got a Wolves defender here as well. And there's also a really good chance of an attacking return for you, doggy, this week. I don't know why. I've just got a really good sneaky suspicion that this is a move that no one's going to bring. 0.5% ownership, 4.4 mil, and everyone knows I love my cheap defenders. So, and look, honestly, the next 4 weeks in particular, there should be at least 3 clean sheets there, I think. So, I'm pretty excited about that potential. And That's probably that's probably the only weeks I actually need him for. So that's all I want there. That's someone to tick it over. Now, obviously, Senesi is all the rage at Bournemouth. Trafford, though, is being massively overlooked. Again, 1.5% ownership. His underlying numbers are obviously fairly decent for expected goal involvement, 0.08. But that's going to come. He obviously had that Liverpool game. And he's very good for bonus. Underlying bonus, Trafford's actually really good. Already racked up, I think, 4 or 5 points for bonus this season already in those games where they kept clean sheets. So, look, lots of people talking about Senesi, but if you want to save a bit of money and you're a bit strapped because Senesi's now up to 4.8, you could easily look at Trafford at 4.5. Then we've got Vardiol. Now, if I had extra transfer this week, and look, I've actually considered taking a -8 and moving Milenkovic out for Vardiol because I've got the exact money to do that move, but I think I'm going to hold off. But I don't mind it. Like, he looks so good. And remember, I know he's got no expected goal involvement so far through the first 2 starts of the season, but he's ridiculously owned. He's going to be good. And you know that he's got that history of just being really dominant in the air, at set pieces, attacking, etc. I just think Vardiol could be really good and someone that we probably need to consider. Then obviously we've got Krejci from Wolves. Now, shout out to Volo, who actually bought him in last week and captained him. 0.0% ownership. So it must be 0.001 or something like that. But stupidly low owned. 2 starts, he's already had 1 goal. Expected goal involvement is 0.44 per 90 over those 2 games. Like, I did read that he had a ridiculously good attacking output at his previous club. Maybe he's actually going to be a really good goal-scoring defender. One to watch, particularly that run of fixtures for Wolves there. Tottenham away, not overly good, but then the next 3, particularly in Game Week 7, Brighton at home, Sunderland away, Burnley at home, Fulham away. 4 really nice fixtures there for Wolves. Potentially, he could be someone that you could bring in. Now, we don't have enough data from those 2 games to work out about the DC points. He's yet to hit it, but I mean, he's not too bad. And when he's been on the field, expected goals conceded of only 1.02. So again, something to keep in mind. Those are your defenders for Game Week 6. So on to the midfielders. And look, there is no stack. There is no Ndiaye. There's no template picks here. I've picked out 4 options that no one and their dogs are talking about. First up, we've got Estavio, or Estevo. I don't know how you say his name. Whatever his name is. Plays for Chelsea. He's actually made 3 starts from the 5 games. Got 1 assist. Had the 1 clean sheet. His underlying data, though, is through the roof. Like 1.9% ownership. Remember, we are expecting Cole Palmer to be out for a little bit of time, which means that his chances of starting on the right wing have just gone straight through the roof. And he obviously didn't start last night, so he's almost guaranteed to start this weekend against Brighton at home. His underlying numbers is what excites me. 0.48 expected goals per 90, 0.51 expected assists per 90. Combine them, it's 0.99 XGI per 90 when he's been on the field this season. That is unbelievably good. And that screams returns. So I think that if you wanted a really sneaky bet, maybe Enzo's not the one. Maybe it is this bloke. Yeah, I don't know. When I was doing my research for this week and trying to come up with different options that could be really good with injuries and stuff that's happened at their clubs and that, his name is right at the top of the list. So, look, I don't know if he's going to be good, but I think he could be really good. Coming in number 2 is Anthony. Now, lots of people talking about Stack and all these other midfielders that have had 1-week wonders. Anthony scored in 3 different games already. He's got more points than Stack. Yes, he costs 0.5 million more. And ironically, his DC numbers are nowhere near as good as Stack's. 7.74 per 90 is nothing to be laughed at, but he's not yet hit the threshold. But it's the attacking returns I'm interested in. You're going to get bonus points if you score goals. You ain't getting bonus points if you get defensive contributions in the midfield. That's a fact. 2 clean sheets as well to add on to that. So, look, again, his underlying numbers are fantastic. 0.42 expected goals per 90, 0.11 expected assists per 90. He's literally delivering on the expected data or the underlying expected data. I just can't believe that no one's talking about this guy. Also, if you're bench boosting after your wild carding, he's got Leeds at home in Game Week 8. Or Wolves away in Game Week 9, or West Ham away in Game Week 11. There's so many different options here. He's going to be good for a number of weeks. Yes, the Man City away game's not ideal, but the Aston Villa one should be fine. Arsenal home again probably won't be any good, but, you know, he's your 8th attacker. I want someone that can have that explosive potential. If I was wildcarding, I think he's 100% the guy that would be in my team. Then we got Doku. Now, I was going to feature Phil Foden again, but I've featured him later in the 1 week punts. Sneak out for that one a bit later. But Doku could be really good. 6.4 million. He's obviously 1.6 million cheaper than Phil Foden. He's obviously a little bit more expensive than Reinders. But he's at 2.9% ownership. Again, 3 starts. He's already had 2 assists. He's had 3 clean sheets. His underlying numbers are not as good as the previous 2 I've talked about. 0.08 expected goals per 90. That's never been his thing, but it's the expected assist per 90 that's big. 0.34 there. Again, DC numbers non-relevant to Doku, but you're faced with amazing fixtures. So, like, it's an instant, what should be an instant reward. And with the injuries City have got, you almost think that he's guaranteed to start because Savinho does not play on the left wing. So Doku almost feels nailed until they get a Cherki or a Marmoush back. But until they do, I think Doku starts every game. I can't see well where he doesn't. Then we got Minte coming in at number 4. Maybe he's not that good this week, but the way Chelsea defended last week at Old Trafford and a couple of and the game away at Brentford recently and obviously in Bayern Munich, I actually fancy Minte to do really well. He obviously was rested in the Carabao Cup overnight. Again, his underlying numbers are pretty good. 0.27 expected goals per 90, 0.16 expected assists per 90. He's also hit the DC threshold once this season as well. So he has got that ability in him. He's obviously had 1 goal and 1 assist from his 5 starts so far. But he's another one getting massively slept on. 1.1% ownership. With that run of fixtures coming up, why not take a punt on him than like an Ndiaye, where every man and his dog's going to? I'll tell you something before tomorrow's video, and Ndiaye's got 1 good fixture in the next 5, and it's this week. Outside of that, I don't actually see him scoring, unless like he gets given a gift. It's not actually that easy a run of fixtures for Everton. Compared to Minte, he's got, I'd argue, a lot nicer run of fixtures moving forward post this week compared to the likes of Ndiaye. So onto the forwards, and Isaac is in here because, look, everyone's buying Gyökeres and João Pedro, and you're just getting sped the exact same thing now. He's got no expected goal per 90 data at the moment, 0.04 expected assist at the moment, but he's literally played about 10 minutes in the league. And this is how stupid stats can be sometimes, this is why I actually featured him, because I wasn't going to, and then I thought, oh, why not? He'll probably be over 10% by the time you watch this. 11.74 DC per 90 contributions from Isaac. There is no way he's ever getting DC points. Let's be honest here, folks. It's just not going to happen. But he's probably going to score. And the reason why I've featured him is because Hugo Ekitike was a very silly boy last night, got booked for dissent, and then got booked the second time for scoring and taking his shirt off in the Carabao Cup against Southampton from the Championship. I don't think you could make it up at any more sillier judgment ever from a player. I don't know what he was thinking. Honestly, I do not understand what he was thinking there. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. But look, Isaac will be great. He's going to score goals. He's almost guaranteed to start now against Crystal Palace as well. So why not bring him in? Why pay up for Gyökeres, who, let's be honest, has looked bang ordinary, and pay up an extra 1.5 million bringing in Isaac, who arguably is going to be a much better player, and we know he can do it in the league. And we know he can do it against good teams as well. So keep that in mind. Strand Larson comes in at number 2. He started last night in the Carabao Cup. Unfortunately, didn't score, but he's back in business. And as I said, that Wolves run of fixtures is just too good to ignore. Lots of people, again, forgetting about him because he's just disappeared off the face of earth. He's back. He's fit. He's available. He's going to be playing. He's going to be starting. 6.4 million. He's obviously dropped in price as well, so that's quite nice if you're on wildcard. 1.5% ownership. Again, if Wolves are going to stay up, they're going to score goals and they're going to get points in the next 5 games. So for that reason, they'll need Strand Larson to fire. So why not take a bet? And look, it's a calculated bet the next 5 weeks. He has to score for Wolves to stay up this season. So I think it's a pretty logical punt. Now we're back onto my man, Jarrod Bowen, who features for the 3rd week in a row. The dude's back off scoring another goal. Also, he scored more points than Victor Gyökeres this season. Because guess what? Jarrod Bowen is not a flat track bully. He can show up on any single week and be the talisman for West Ham. Now, I know the underlying data is rubbish, but that's because West Ham generally have been rubbish. But Bowen has still scored 2 goals and has scored over 20 points. If I'd had my time again, I would have sold Ollie Watkins and kept Jarrod Bowen, because I can guarantee you I want him back. When we get to game week 8, I definitely want Jarrod Bowen back. I actually fancy him to score against Everton this weekend as well, FYI. Arsenal away. Also, West Ham can sometimes do something against Arsenal, so I don't even mind him for that. But again, you can pick this dude up, guaranteed 90 minutes every single week. You don't have to worry about rotation. He's probably better value for money than João Pedro and, Victor Ocares moving forward, because they will lose minutes. With Europe, João Pedro's injury record is also a little bit iffy as well. So again, lots of people just overlooking these really good assets, I think, in my eyes. Esidio comes in at number 4. Now, lots of people talking about Muniz as a cheap forward, etc., etc. Sunderland's fixtures: Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, Wolves, Everton, Chelsea. Other than Arsenal, I actually think they could score in all 5 of them. The way that Sunderland have been playing, they've been great in goals. This dude's already scored 3 goals. 3 goals in the league already, being massively slept on and overlooked. 0.39 expected goals per 90 is not like through the roof, but he's been getting the job done, and he's a man in form. And what have we learned this season so far? Don't just play it on the fixtures, play it on people and players that are actually informed. That seems to be the key here. That's why Semenyo's just absolutely just ballooned through the roof, because he's a man in form. He doesn't even care who he's playing against at the moment. He just seems to return one way or the other. So again, Esidio looks unbelievably good there. So on to how my Game Week 5 best 1 week punts went, and it was a week. I didn't have any of them return. Not one single player that I picked last week returned. We had Milinkovic against Burnley, obviously conceded off a stupidly low XG in that game. Morgan Gibbs-White, ditto. He did nothing in that game against Burnley either. They drew 1-1. Cole Palmer lasted 20 minutes and then came off for that groin. And then Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa created nothing for him, so I don't even know what he was meant to do. But again, that was disappointing. Look, the fixtures were there. I picked the players for the 1 week punts based on that. Hopefully this week I've got a little bit better. And I'm sorry, Milinkovic. I really wanted to include him again to give him a redemption shot. He stays in my team to get the redemption shot, but he doesn't get another shot at the best 1 week punts this week. So I've actually gone with Tarkowski from Everton. I think he's going to be great. West Ham at home is one of those games where it could go either way, but he's almost guaranteed to start with at least 3 points, maybe even 4. If somehow they keep a clean sheet, he's in double figures. So, yeah, I just think that why not go with him this week as the best 1 week punt in the defence? You could go with Vardiol. You could go with Milinkovic. I think they'll all be great this week. But Tarkowski's just got that almost innate high floor. 3 points guaranteed minimum coming up unless he gets himself sent off after I've just said this. But hopefully he doesn't. That would be very unfortunate for his owners. But yeah, he's literally hit the DC threshold in every single game. There's no reason to think he won't against West Ham as well. I think he'll be great. Coming in the midfield, and this is why I haven't bought in Phil Foden, because originally I was going to transfer out Cunha for Phil Foden. But you'll notice now I've got them both featuring as my 2 best 1 week punts in the midfield this week. And I just think they're both going to be great. I think Phil Foden starts. He probably plays 90 minutes. He's going to be... Burnley's like the kind of game where I can see Phil Foden get like a 19-pointer like he did last season against I think it was Leicester at home or whatever it was. And I had him for that game. I can just see it. I think he's going to be great. I think he's better than Doku this week. But I think Doku's probably safer until those players come back. Just because of the fact I don't like Phil Foden on the left, and I don't know if Pep sees him on the left, but I don't think he does. But ironically, his DC numbers are really good as well per 90 at the moment. So again, there's lots to love there about Phil Foden, lots of avenues to points of the new way that Man City seem to be playing this season under Pep. So again, looks really good. I reckon it's a great 1 week punt. Now, Cunha, yet to score for Man United, but if there is a team that likes conceding goals, it's Brentford. And I think Man United score multiple goals against Brentford in the early kickoff, which is why I kicked Collins out of my team this week and why I've kept Cunha. I think that this is the week where he tees off. Don't know what says that he's going to outperform, but I reckon he's going to outperform Bruno. I reckon he's going to outperform Mbeumo, and he's going to be back in the starting lineup. And I reckon that Cunha, he's been waiting a while to score that first goal for Manchester United. I reckon it arrives. I reckon 2 might even arrive for him. And then on to the Pigeon. The Pigeon's actually in here instead of Erling Haaland because of the fact that I do think that if Man City account for Burnley early, Haaland could be easily subbed. So I've gone with the Pigeon. He's got Wolves at home, screaming. He's a man in form. 4 starts, 3 goals, 1 assist. I mean, his numbers are pretty good as well. 0.43 expected goals per 90. I mean, yeah, 14.3% ownership. A lot of people. I'm glad I've got him in my draft team this week because I reckon he's going to go bang, bang, bang against Wolves. So, don't know if he's going to score a hat-trick, but I'm telling you, lots of people are going to be overlooking the Pigeon this week. Even on wildcard, the run of fixtures to Spurs is really good. At the moment, that forward spot is his to lose. And with that kind of form that he's in, he's not going to be losing anytime soon. So again, I love it as a 1-week punt this week. So that brings me to the end of my overlooked players and differentials for Game Week 6. And look, let me know if any of them have taken your fancy. Let me know if you think I'm on the money this week as well for the best 1-week punts. Last week was a disaster for the 1-week punts. This week, though, I've got a sneaky suspicion that all 4 are going to return with something. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for my top transfer tips, Friday for team selection and the late mail, and we've got a special guest appearance for the live watch along on Saturday. My best mate from the UK is going to be over here live in the booth with me, and we're going to do a massive 4.5-hour session. We'll have the Man United Brentford game, followed by all the 10 o'clock games. We'll have all the people on triple captain Haaland versus Burnley. We'll have the people watching the Crystal Palace Liverpool game. We'll have them all. We've got them all covered. It's going to be a mad weekend. It's going to be great. Hope to see you around then. And also, if you've got card calls that you want to see in the late mail, please leave them in the comments today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. See you tomorrow.